This conference will now be recorded.
So in today's session, we are going to discuss about the validation tools. We will see what exactly the validation tool, what is the use, how can we validate the data before saving into the object, and how to create the validation rules in Salesforce without writing any code, without using any programming language, and how can we validate the data. We will see practically today. And upon creating the validation rules, what are the various functions we are using as part of this validations? We'll see practically one by one. Then what exactly the validation tools first? First of all, we have to understand what exactly a validation tool. Rule in the sense what? An automated process, an automated which will execute automatically. Okay, rule in the sense the feature which will execute automatically without executing manually by our own, it will execute automatically. Then validation rule in the sense validating. Validating in the sense verifying the data, checking the data before saving into your object. Before saving this data into the object, I would like to validate. Okay, I would like to validate the information. Like for example, let's complete general scenario. Assume that today I'm making a call to one of my friends. By using the mobile, I'm making a call to one of my friends. So whenever I'm going to be pressing that call button to make a call to my friend, what it will do, directly it will try to connect to that mobile number? No. First of all, it will verify whatever the mobile number that you have entered, whether it is having 10 digits or not. Okay, whatever the mobile number you have entered, whether it is having 10 digits or not. And the second one, it will verify whether that mobile number is a valid mobile number or not, because every mobile network is following some sequence. Every mobile number is having some sequences available. So then it will verify whether this mobile number is a valid sequence or not, it will verify. Next, third one, it will verify the balance, whether you are having the sufficient balance inside your mobile or not. If you're having the balance, then only it will be trying to be connecting to the mobile number. That means what? When you press that call button to make a call to the person, it won't try to connect to the mobile number directly. It will do some necessary investigation before connecting to that mobile number. So before making a call to the person, first of all, it will do some validations. It will validate that information. It will verify. Okay, it will verify whether you have entered the 10-digit mobile number or not, and whether you have entered the mobile number which is the correct sequence or not. Third one, you are having the balance or not. Fourth one, you are having that signal is available or not. So then if all these four are satisfied, then only it will try to connect to that mobile number through by connecting to a mobile network, and it will be, you can able to have the conversation. That means what? Before connecting to the mobile number, it is doing some validation. Like the similar way, before saving the record, into the object, I want to validate some information. I want to validate the data. I want to verify whether this data is correct format or not. Whether this data is correct or not, I would like to validate this information. So for that reason, we are going to be using this validation rules feature. Now, for example, let's complete general scenario. So assume that I'm having a table. I'm having a customer table. This is my customer table, which is having some columns. customer ID, customer name, age of the customer, gender value of the customer, and the salary and the phone number. These are the columns I would like to have inside my customer table. This is my customer object. This is my customer object. Here I'm having some columns available inside this. These are the columns. ID column, name column, age column, gender column, salary column, and the phone number column. These are the columns are available inside my table. These are the columns are available inside my table customer. Now, so now here in this case, I want to verify this. I'm going to be creating a record. Today, I'm going to be creating a record inside my customer table here. A new customer record I'm inserting. Now, the customer ID is 100001. Name is some Ram Kumar. Age, I'm indicating like some 200. Gender, some male. Salary, some 20,000. Phone number, I'm giving some value. So now tell me, is it a valid record? No. Why? Because I have given the age as 200. Now tell me, do we have anybody who is having the age as 200 years? No. When coming to my requirement, what I want to do is, I don't want to accept this kind of invalid information. This is a wrong information. Suppose, for example, I'm giving this age as like a some, okay, 27. I'm giving the gender value as like a some A. I'm giving the gender value as A. So now do we have any meaning for the gender A? No. We have to enter only few values. What values we need to enter? We have to enter the values either M or F. Any one of this. Only one character. The two that should be either M or F. Nothing but male or female. When coming to the age, as part of my business requirement, I want to make the customer age should be between 20 to 90. This is the maximum age I would like to accept. My customer's age should be between 20 to 90 only, not more than that, not less than that. It should not be less than 20, it should not be more than 90. This is the limitation. I want to indicate that. When coming to the for name column should have okay minimum some 8 characters. 8 characters to maximum. Okay, the name should have minimum 8 characters to maximum some 15 characters, not more than that, including spaces also. Now, in this case, how can we validate this information over there? How to validate this data? How can we validate? So whenever I'm going to be creating the record, okay, whenever we are going to be creating the record, before insertion, before creating the record, first of all, Salesforce will verify whether you have entered the correct data or not. If the data is correct, then only record will be acceptable. Why? Because it's, for example, come to a general scenario. I'm entering into a shopping mall. Whenever you are entering into the shopping mall, okay, if the entry gate itself, there is a security person is available who is going to verify you whether you are having any unwanted items along with you, like some pistols, bombs, knives. Do you have any unwanted items available with you or not? If you are having any one of these unwanted items, they won't allow you to enter into the shopping mall. If you don't have any one of these unwanted items, then they will allow you. So that we can enter into the shopping mall, we can do the shopping also. That means what? Before entering into that shopping mall, they will do that verification. Like the similar way, upon click on the save button, directly record will not be saving into your object. First of all, it will verify whether you have entered the data in all the fields or not. Upon entering the data, whether you have entered the data in the correct format or not, valid data you have entered or not. For that one, we are verifying with the help of validation tools. So what do you mean by validation rule? Validation rules are used to enforce the user to provide the correct information. Okay, correct information upon creating the record and upon updating the record also. Why? Because is validations will be getting verified before insertion, before updation in both the cases over there. Upon updating that record, you might be entering some wrong information also. So that before insertion, before updation in both the cases, it has to validate that information. So whatever the data that you have entered, the data has to be get validated. Now, so in this case here, we can able to validate that information also. Wherever we go, everywhere we are going to be having the validations. Like for example, whenever we are cooking some food, then before that we are verifying that whether its taste is good or not, and the salt is correctly entered or not. Everything we are verifying that here. Like the similar way here also, whenever I'm storing some records inside my object, always we have to validate the data whether the user has entered the correct information or not. For that reason, we are using the help of validation rules. So validation rules are used to enforce the user. Enforcing the user means we are forcing the people, boss, don't enter wrong information. Please enter correct information always. So that we can maintain the accuracy of the data, we can maintain the quality of the data also. So that with the help of these validation rules, we can maintain the accuracy and the quality of the records. We should not have any invalid information inside my tables. Okay, now, so let me give the node file. Validation rules are used to enforce the users to enter the correct information before inserting or updating the records inside the object. Validation rules are used to enforce the users to enter the correct information before inserting or updating the record inside the object. Now, by using validation rules, we can maintain the accuracy and quality of data inside the objects. We can maintain the quality of the records and we can maintain the accuracy of the records inside our objects. Now, in this case, that already told you, validation rules are always ready-made processes. These are the ready-made rules which will be executing automatically. Then when it will be executing? Before insertion and before updation. Before inserting the record into the table, it will do the validation. Before updating the record also, it will do the validations also. So that validation rules are automatically firing before insertion and before updating the record inside this object here. Now, validation rules are always firing before insert and before updating the record. Whenever you are trying to be inserting the record inside this object, before insertion and the before updation of the record, always this validation rules will be getting fired. Now, so in this case, how can we do the validations over here? Okay, how can we do the validations? Now, so when coming to the validations, we have two types of validation rules are available. Okay, we have two types of validation rules. As part of Salesforce, we have two types of validation rules. First one is client-side validation rules. Second one, server-side validation rules. Client-side validation rules, server-side validation rules. Client-side means what? Client in the sense browser side. Okay, browser side. That means what? After entering some data inside your text boxes, when you click on save button, in the user interface itself, it will validate the data here. That is called as client side. Client means browser. Server means a database level. Okay, database level. Whenever if you want to validate the data at the database level, then it is called as validation rules. Okay, the server side validation rules. Okay, client side validation rules are executing at the client side, nothing but browser side. Server side validation rules are executing at the database level, at the object level. Inside the database server level, it will be executing automatically by default. Now, so in this case, how can we implement the client side validations and how to implement the server side validations over here? Now, Salesforce provides two types of validation rules. First one, client side validations. Second one, server side validations. Client side validations and server side validations. What do you mean by client side validations? Client in the sense of browser, so that we can validate the data at the browser level. Whenever if you want to validate the data at the browser level, then those validation rules are called as client side validation rules. Client side validation rules are used to validate the information at the browser level. Okay, at the browser level itself, we can able to validate that information itself. Okay, now these are used to validate the information at the browser level. These are used to validate the information at the browser level. That means only at the client side, only at the browser level, we can able to validate this information. These are called as client side validation rules. Now, server side validation rules. These are validating at the database level. These are used to validate the data at the database level. Database server. These are used to validate the data at the database server. So whenever if you want to validate the data at the client side, then we can go with that client side validation rules. Whenever if you want to validate the data at the server side, that means then we can go with the database level. Now, which one is most preferred one? Client side. That means browser side. Browser side validation rules are very, very useful because these are improving your application performance always. So always it is recommended to the developers, please have the validations at the client side, not at the server side. Okay, always we are preferring to the people to do the validations at the client side. So nothing but, so not going to the database, in the browser level itself, we can able to verify. At the browser level itself, we can able to validate this information. So for that reason, we have to use the client side validations always. Now here in this case. Now, make it. Always it is recommended to have the validation rules at the client side. Always it is recommended to have the validations at the client side so that we can able to improve the application performance, so that we can improve the application performance. So that we can improve the application performance. How can we do the client side validations? Client side validations can be done with the help of validation rules. So Salesforce is providing a feature called as validation rules. With the help of this validation rules, we can validate the data at the client side. Now, we can implement the client side validations by using validation rules. rules. We can implement the client-side validations by using validation rules. Now, how can we implement the server-side validation? Server-side validations will be implemented with the help of, triggers. As part of development, by using the triggers concept, we are going to be implementing the server-side validations. So server-side means what? Database level. If you want to validate the data at the database level, then we have to use the help of the triggers. By using Apex programming, with the help of the triggers feature, we can able to implement that server-side validation tools to validate the data at the server side. Now, we can implement the server-side validation tools by using Apex triggers. With the help of these Apex triggers, we can able to implement the server-side validation tools. Now, then how can we implement these validation rules inside your Salesforce? Now let's see practically in this case. Okay. Now, today we'll see how can we implement these validation rules. So now whenever we are going to be implementing this validation rules, now, so whenever we are going to be implementing the validation rules, then what are the various limitations are available in Salesforce? What are the various governor limits are available in Salesforce? Now let's see practically in this case. Governor limits. Whenever we are going to be preparing the validation rules, Salesforce has given some limitations over there. What are those limitations? We can have maximum of 100 active validation rules per an object. That means on a single table, on a single object, we can have maximum of 100 active validation rules. We can have maximum of 100
Firoz, we can't
Hello.
hear you. The screen is also freezed.
Not audible. I think Firoz lost connection.
It shows that he's speaking.
Because I am unable to chat. Can someone ping him in chat? Firoz?
I think
We
he
can
may be
see
having
him in
some
the list.
connection issues. He'll join. I think if we give him a minute, he'll just join right back in.
Unable to chat.
He may be having some internet issues, right? So once he connects, he will join automatically.
Right.
We will wait for some time.
now. So now let's see in this case. If it is a free developer edition, in free developer edition, we can create maximum of 100 active validation rules per an object. Per an object, we can have maximum of 100 active validation rules per an object in free developer edition. Now, in unlimited edition, of Salesforce, we can have maximum of 500 active validation rules per an object. Per an object, we can create maximum of 500 active validation rules, okay, per table in unlimited edition. So inside this free developer edition, we can create maximum of 100 active validation rules per an object. And if it is an unlimited edition, we can use maximum of 500 active validation rules per an object. These are the various governor limits which has been given by Salesforce, okay, as part of this validation. These are the various governor limits has been given by Salesforce as part of this validation rules. Then how can we prepare these validation rules right now? Okay, how can we prepare these validation rules right now? Now let's see practically in this case. Generally, to validate the data, we are going to be writing some code. Okay, generally, in order to do the validations, we are going to be writing some code. But in Salesforce, we no need to write that code. Just we can able to validate the data just by using some ready-made functions. Salesforce has given some set of ready-made functions. With the help of those ready-made functions, we can validate the data so that we can able to avoid the invalid information inside your objects. Always we can maintain the correct information. The valid information we can maintain inside this object with the help of this validation. Now, so now here in this case, in order to validate the data, we no need to write any additional code. Just we can able to use some ready-made functions which has been given by Salesforce. So Salesforce has given some ready-made functions. Now let's see practically what are the various ready-made functions has been given by Salesforce, how to use each and every function, how to create the validation rules. Now let's see practically in this case. Now, Salesforce provides a set of ready-made functions to be used to validate the data. Salesforce provides a set of ready-made functions to be used to validate the data as part of this validation groups. Now, so in this case, what are the various functions has been given by Salesforce by default here? Let's see each and every function one by one, and then how to use it, we'll see practically in this case. So generally, when you go to the other programming languages, in order to do the validations, we have to write some additional code. We have to write some additional code in order to validate the data. But in Salesforce, we no need to write any additional code. Just we can use some ready-made functions in order to validate that information itself. That facility is available. Then what are those ready-made functions has been given by Salesforce in order to validate the data, and then how can we use those functions? Now let's see one by one. Now, the first functions. The first one, Boolean is blank. Boolean is blank of field name. Field name or API name. That means it may be standard field, it may be custom field. If it is a standard field, then we have to give the field name. If it is a custom field, we have to give API name over here. So whenever I'm passing that field name to this particular is blank function, this is blank function is having the ready-made functionality which will verify whether this particular field value is blank or not. Whatever the field name you have specified, whether that field value is blank or not, it will verify. If it is blank, it will return true, or else it will return false. So the Boolean value, Boolean means what? True or false values. Okay, true or false values are called as Boolean values over here. So in this case, now this is blank function is used to verify whether the specified field value is blank or not. That means empty or not. If it is empty, it returns true, or else it will return false. So in order to verify whether a specific field value is empty or not, or blank or not, we are using this is blank function. Okay, now let me explain this. This function is used to verify the specified field value is empty or not. Empty or not. If the field is empty, then it returns true. Else, it returns false. If the field is empty, then it returns true, or else it will return false. Now, for example, how can we use this one? I would like to verify here. For example, assume that I'm having an object. For example, account. Upon creating a new account record, I'm having a field. I want to cross check whether this phone field value is blank or not. I want to verify whether this phone field value is blank or not. I want to verify whether this website field value is blank or not. I want to verify whether this billing city field value is blank or not. So like that, I want to verify. So in this case, how can we do that? For example, we have to specify is blank. Is blank of phone. That means phone field name is phone. I'm passing that field name. If the phone field value is blank, it returns true, or else it returns false. For example, I want to verify if it is blank of website. Website or not. Whether this website field is blank or not. I want to verify. Is blank of billing street or billing city. Billing city field value is blank or not. I want to verify that. So in this case,
blank function we can achieve by making that field mandatory also, no?
Sorry? Yes. Is it blank or not? We can verify that. By using that, making that field value also mandatory also, we can do that. But in this case, what will happen? Whenever I'm going to making the field required by using the required checkbox, it will prepare one red color bar symbol. But I don't want to show the red color bar symbol. I want to validate the data upon click on save. So at that time, we can go with this is blank function with validation rules.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, when we make required while data entry also means while doing data loader import, it is a mandatory field. So if we are doing any validation, then for that field it will be mandatory. Like if we put only
Yes,
then
right. So even though if I'm creating the validation rule, so validation rules are always firing upon creating the record. Okay, whenever you are creating the record through data loader also, it will fire the validation rules over here. Validation rules are always firing, okay, upon creating the record through user interface, upon creating the record through Apex programming, upon creating the record through the data loader also. But we can able to skip this, okay, by using that by adding some additional condition over there. By adding some additional conditions, we can able to skip that operation also. There is a possibility.
In data loader while doing the activity.
Yes. Whenever if you are going to be creating the record through data loader, okay, by using the data loader, if you are creating the record, at that time, if you want to skip the validation rules, then we can do some operations. Okay, we can able to add some additional condition. Based on that condition, we can able to skip the execution of the validation rules only for the data loader process. Okay, there is a possibility. If you're making it as a required checkbox, there is no such option. It's compulsorily we have to enter that. Okay. Now, so in this case, how can we use this one? So whenever I'm going to passing a field name, now it will verify. This is blank function will verify whether this field is blank or not. If it is blank, if it is empty, it returns true, or else it will return false. So for that reason, we are using the help of is blank function. Now, then how to create this validation rule? Now let's see practically in this case by using this is blank function. Now, first of all, let me explain the requirement. Then we will see how can we prepare the validation rules. We'll see practically in this case. Now, for example, I'm creating a record inside my object here. I'm creating a record inside my account object. I'm giving some account record name, like as I'm indicating like some Kiran Kumar. I'm entering some data. Click on save button. My record has been saved as it is. I haven't entered any other fields. Only the name value I have entered. That's it. Remaining values I haven't entered. But now my requirement is, what I want to do is, whenever I'm going to be creating a new record, I want to make this a phone field also mandatory field. I want to make this field phone also mandatory. How can we do this? How to create a validation rule in order to make that field value as mandatory. Now, let's see practically here. Let's take a small use case. Take a use case, create a validation rule to make the phone field as required upon creating an account record inside the object. Whenever I'm creating a new account record inside my account object, then I want to make this a phone field as mandatory. But as of now, phone is not a mandatory field. It's an optional field. You may enter, you may not enter the data. But now what I want to do is I want to make this a phone field also a required field. I want to make this phone also a mandatory field over here. How can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so how can we prepare this validation rule? Now let's see practically. Now, let's see how can we create this validation rule. I want to make this a phone field as mandatory. So now in this case, how can we create this validation rule? So let's go to this here. Now, so now let's see in this case, how can we create this validation rule? So click on this account object here. Click on the required objects tab. Click on the required objects tab. For example, accounts. Expand the first platform quick access menu. Expand the first platform quick access menu and click on view validation rules link. Now, go to the validation rules section. Click on new button in order to create a new validation rule. Enter the validation rule label, comma name, and the description. Enter the validation rule label, name, and the description. And then select the checkbox active. In order to make that validation rule active, in order to find the validation rule, we have to make that validation rule as active. For that one, we are selecting that active checkbox. Next. Enter the validation condition inside the text area. Inside the text area. And then once the validation condition has been getting specified, then check the syntaxes here. Click on check syntax button. To validate the syntax. To validate the syntax. Next. Enter the error message to be visible. To be visible if the validation success. So the validation failed. Select the location of the error message. Error message. That is either at field level or top of the page. Select the field from the pick list at which the error message should be visible and then click on save button. This is the navigation process to create the validation rules. In order to create a validation rule, this is the validation rules navigation process we have to follow. So we have to go to the respective object for which you want to create the validation rule, and then expand the force.com quick access menu and click on that view validation rules link, and then from there you can create the validation rule by providing the validation rule label, name, description, active checkbox, conditions, error message, and then location of that error message also. All this information we can enter inside this. Now, so now inside this particular validation condition, we have to specify the validation. So what is the condition we have to verify? I want to verify. So is blank of, okay, is blank of phone. That means if the phone field is blank, then I want to show the error message over here. If the phone field is blank, then I want to show the error message to the user. So boss, please enter the contact number of the customer. Like that, I want to indicate this information. Which message you want to display, we can able to specify. Whatever the message that you want, we can able to specify that information. It depends upon your requirement, we can able to specify that message also.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, by using data type, can we do field monitoring?
Only field mandatory you can do. Remaining validations you can't do, right?
Okay.
Only mandatory we can do by using required checkbox. But remaining validations, like for example, I want to indicate that age should be between 20 to 90. How can we do that? Name should have minimum 8 years, 8 characters, maximum 15 characters. And then gender should be either male or female. How can we do this? These are not possible through required checkbox, right? Required checkbox is only to make the field required. That's it.
Sir,
That's what
gender,
here.
can't we do it with a pick list?
Gender?
Can we do it with pick list?
Yes, we can do that. Gender we can able to populate by using this pick list field, either M or F. We can do that one. Okay. If you're having two options or few options are available, then we can able to decide by using the pick list control. Okay. Now,
suppose if we have two fields and we have to validate, can we do that validation through this?
Yes, we can able to validate the two field values in one shot also by using that conditionals, by using some validation conditions. Multiple conditions we can prepare by using logical operators. We can do that. So that possibility is available here. We'll see all these things we are discussing today. Now let's see how can we do this one. Now, So now in this case, I want to make this a phone field as mandatory field. So upon creating the account record or upon updating this account record, I want to make this account record phone value should be mandatory. But right now, account phone is not a mandatory field. It's not a mandatory. It's an optional field. You may enter, you may not enter. But I want to make this field as mandatory. Then how can we do this one? Now let's see practically. For that reason, I want to create a validation rule on my account object. How to create the validation rule? Just click on this accounts tab. Expand the force.com quick access menu. Expand the force.com quick access menu. Click on that link called as view validation rules. Okay, click on a link that is called as view validation rules. Once you click on that, it is listing out all the validation rules that you have created on your account object. Have we created any validation rules as of now? No, because we don't know how to create the validation rules, so that we haven't created anything as of now. So I would like to create a new rule. So click on new button. Upon click on this new button, okay, it is providing a user interface which is used to specify the details of the validation rule which you would like to create. So I want to create a validation rule right now. So what is the name of this validation rule? I want to specify the validation rule label and the name and the description. Select that active checkbox over here. By default, it is selecting this. Enter the validation condition over here and then check the syntax of that condition, because upon writing these conditions, you may be doing some mistakes also, so that we can check the syntaxes by using this check syntax button. If the validation has been successfully validated, then what error message you want to display? You can display that error message over here. And then we can specify the error location also. Everything is available here itself. Nothing to do here manually. Now, let's see how can we do this one. Now, I want to create the validation rule over here. I want to indicate that account contact number required. I want to create a validation rule with the name account contact number required. Specify the description. Now, this rule is used to make the account record phone number mandatory. So now this rule is used to, this description is optional. You may enter, you may not enter. This description is used to specify that comment, okay? To give some comment about the validation rule. What is the purpose of this rule? To give this comment, we are using this. Now, specify that condition here. So what is the condition you want to use to validate this information? In order to validate that one, we are using a function called as is blank. You no need to type this information manually. Everything we can able to collect it through mouse pointers itself. Then how can we do that? When you come to this particular user interface, here we are having the functions list. Here we have the functions list is available here. Whenever we are selecting any of this function, okay, whenever you are selecting any of this function, that function's description, that function's information will be visible over here. Here we can see the details of this function. Here we can see the details of this function over here. So whenever we are selecting a function, that function's description we can able to see in this location over here. Now, suppose for example, I'm selecting this one. It is giving the description here. What is the syntax of this one? How to use this one? Everything. If I'm selecting this one, description of this function description, this function description, like that we can see each and every function description. Now, so I want to use this function. Which function you want to use as part of your application? As part of my requirement for this validation, I would like to use is blank function. So when you come down here, you will be having a function called as is blank function. Is blank. So now here in this case, we have to specify. I want to use this function. So you don't need to type. Here you can type this information also. Is blank of we can specify that. Or else if you don't want to type this one, if you're feeling difficulty to type this function, just remove this one, select the function over here inside this list, click on insert selected function. So function name has been getting populated over here. Now here we can able to pass what field name expression. That means you have to specify the name of the field, okay, which you would like to validate. We have to specify the name of the field which you would like to validate this information. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. How can we do that? We can use any case, uppercase, lowercase, combination, anything you can use, no problem, because entire Salesforce is not case sensitive. It may be an admin, it may be development. This is not case sensitive. Any character case you can use. Now, here I want to specify that phone field. If you want to specify the phone field, then simply click on that insert field button. Click on insert field button. So now what is the field name you want to select? Phone field. So select that phone. Select that phone. It is indicating that field API name. So now click on insert. Automatically it has been added. That's it. Done. We no need to type any information inside this. Now, so in this case, I'm preparing a validation condition. Is blank of phone. That means if this phone field is blank, then what you want to do? Okay, what you want to do? I want to display some error message here. So what is that error message? You can type inside this error message field. Now type your error message, whatever you want to display. I want to indicate that please enter the customer contact number. Account means customer. I want to display the error message. Please enter the customer contact number. So now I want to display this error message. That means if this account records a phone field value is blank, if it is empty, then I want to show this error message. Okay, now please enter the customer contact number. Then where you want to display this error message, I want to show this error message at field level. For example, by default, it is indicating at the top of the page. I don't want to show at the top of the page. I want to show this error message at the field level over here. Select that field. At what field level you want to show? This error message is related to my phone field. So I want to show this error message at the field level. What is that field name? Phone. Select that field as phone field. Okay, select the field as phone. Now click on save. Now my revalidation tool has been prepared. That's it. Done. We no need to learn any programming languages. We no need to write any additional code. Just we can able to use that ready-made functions given by Salesforce, and we can able to prepare that validation tools. So from now onwards, okay, from now onwards, whenever you are creating a new account record, my validation tool will fire. Let me show you the testing process. So let's test this validation tool. Click on this new button. Try to create a new account record inside your account object. I'm creating an account record name with the name validation test account. Validation rule test account. I haven't entered any information, just only the name I have entered. I did not give in the phone field value also. Now click on save button. Once you click on save, it is indicating this error message here. So now what is the error message? At the phone field level, it is showing the error message. Please enter the customer contact number. So whatever the contact number, okay, that you are going to enter, please provide this. Don't make that field as empty, make that field as mandatory. That means we can able to, okay, enter the phone number inside my account record upon creating a new record inside this object. Until or unless you are not providing the phone number value, it won't save your record. Okay, until or unless you are not saving the record, you are not entering the phone number value, it won't save the record. It will be keep on displaying that error message. Even though when you click on that save button again, same error message. I want to enter the phone number right now. I'm giving the phone number. I have entered the phone number now. Now click on save button. Now it is saving your record as it is. So before saving the record inside your object, upon creating the record, when you click on the save button is going to be validating the data first. If all the validations are successful, if there is no errors are available, then only record will be acceptable. If any one of that field is having some wrong information, it will not accept that record here. So in this case, before inserting the record, it is doing the validation process first, and then it will save the record. Suppose, for example, upon updating, I'm modifying this record here. So let me make this a field as empty. I'm making this phone is empty. Now let's try to save this one. It won't accept. That means what? Not only before insertion, before updation also validation will be getting fine. So here I'm entering the data right now. Now click on save. Now your record will be accepted as it is. So that validation rules are always firing on before insertion and the before updation. In both the cases, validation rule will get fired.
Can you explain the before updation, before that, just what you said again?
Now, so whenever we are going to be creating the records, before inserting the record and before updating the record, in both the cases, validation rules will be getting fired. So when you try to update that record here, upon updating, I'm making this a phone is blank. Now click on save button, it won't accept that. That means before updating the record also my validations are getting fired over here. So now here I'm entering the data and now click on save button. Now the record will be acceptable. So that validation rules are always firing on before saving the record. That means before creating a new record and before updating that existing record inside your object. This is how we have to create the validation rules inside your Salesforce instance. This is the navigation process we have to follow.
So we don't have a validation concept in development.
No, we don't have any validation concept in development. These validations we have to do by using the triggers. In triggers, we have to do that. Okay, through trigger we can able to validate that by writing some code. But there we have to aware of Apex programming. We have to write some code over there. But here we are not writing any code. Simply we are using some ready-made functions given by Salesforce. That's it. Okay, but the difference is by using triggers we can implement complex validations also. Okay, basic validations we can do by using validation rules. Complex validations we can go with the triggers. Okay, now this is the way we are going to be creating the validation rule right now. Next one, the second function. As of now, we have discussed one function over here, Boolean is blank function. Okay, is blank function we have used in order to validate the data to verify whether this field is blank or not. Next, second function, Boolean is null of field name. Boolean is null of field name or API. Then what is this is null function and what is the use? Is null function is used to verify whether a specific field value is null or not, nothing but empty or not. In order to verify whether a specific field value is empty or not, we are going to be using the help of is null function. So in this case, we can raise a question. So already we have is blank function to verify whether the field value is empty or not. Then why we are using this is null function again? Because is null function can be applicable only on the numerical fields. Okay, is null function can be applicable only on numerical field, not on the text fields. Okay, only on the numerical fields we can apply this is null function, like as currency type of fields, percent type of fields, and the number type of fields. On this kind of fields we can able to apply this is null function. It won't support the text fields, but is blank function will support both number fields and then text fields also both. Initially they have implemented that is null function, and then they have implemented that is blank function. So both are available over here. Now the second function is null. This function returns true if the specified field value is null or empty. Else it returns false. In order to know whether the specified field value is empty or not, we are going to be using this is null function. Then what is the difference over here? Is null function can be applicable only on the numerical. This function should be applicable only on numerical data, numerical values. Like for example, currency fields, number fields, and the percent fields. This can be applicable only on the currency fields, number fields, and the percent field. Because currency field, number field, and the percent fields, these are purely accepting the numerical values. These are purely accepting the numerical values. Now, so in this case, in order to know whether the specific numerical field value is empty or not, we are using the help of is null function. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Let's take a small use case. Now, create a validation rule to make the account record annual revenue is mandatory. Because that already told you in our initial classes of configuration that upon making a field required, we have multiple ways are available. First way is by using that required checkbox, we can make the field required. Second one, by using validation rules. Third one, by using page layout customization. Fourth one, with the help of triggers. Fifth one, by using Visual Force programming. By using Visual Force programming also, we can able to make that field required. So totally 5 ways are available. So we know how to make the field required by using the required checkbox. Now we are using this validation rules. So with the help of this validation rules also, we can able to make that field mandatory or required. Now, then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so let's see how can we create the validation rule. So what is the condition here? So what is the condition you want me to use? I want to use that validation condition here, because is null. Is null of what is that field name? Annual revenue. Okay, the field name is annual revenue. I want to prepare this condition here. In order to validate this annual revenue field, whether it is having the value or not, we are using the help of this function is null of annual revenue. I'm giving that field name over here that is called as annual revenue. So let's see how can we do this one. I'm preparing a validation rule right now. Same navigation, nothing different, just the conditions are different. That's it. Now, so let me create the validation rule on this. As of now, this annual revenue field value is empty. Okay. As of now, this annual revenue field value is empty. Okay, this is not mandatory, this is an option. I want to make it mandatory. Go to the force.com quick access menu, click on view validation rules. Click on new button to create a new validation rule. Specify the rule name. I want to make it as account annual revenue is required. Account annual revenue is required. So now let's create this validation rule. I want to indicate that function. What is that function? Is null. Is null of field name annual revenue. Is null of annual revenue. So I'm verifying this whether this field annual revenue is null or not. If it is null, I want to show the error message. What is the error message you want to display? I'm indicating this. Please enter the customer annual revenue value. Please enter the customer annual revenue value. I want to enter the annual revenue value of the customer. Now, I want to show this error message at what field level? At the annual revenue field level. Why? Because this error message is related to this field annual revenue. So I want to display that. So select that field. What is the field name at which you want to show the error message at the annual revenue? So select that field name as annual revenue. Click on save. Now, let's validate the data. Try to modify this record because validations are always firing on before insertion, before updation, both the cases. So let's go to that. Okay, record, click on this edit button. I'm not entering any annual revenue value. Now let's click on that save button. It won't accept the record. It is indicating the error message to you. So please enter the customer annual revenue value. So now here we have to enter the customer annual revenue. Without that, we can't modify the record. So we have to specify the annual revenue. I'm indicating like some 29 lakhs. I'm giving that annual revenue as 29 lakhs. Now click on save. Once you click on save, my record has been accepted because here annual revenue also we have made it as mandatory. Upon updating the record, if I'm making this value as empty, it won't accept it. It will be validating the data. It is indicating this information. Just you can able to make it cancel. So you will be getting the actual value. So this is the way we are going to be validating the fields by using this is blank function and the is null function. Okay. Now, the next one. One more validation tool. We'll see practically. For example, I have an object. Assume that I have an object here. I have an object with the name some position. I'm having an object with the name position. So it's a custom object over here. Okay, position is a custom object. Whenever I'm creating a new position record, I have some fields are available. Like I'm having the position name field is there, position status field is available, location field is there, number of positions field is available, minimum pay and the maximum budget, open date and the milestone date. These are the various of fields are available here. These are the various of fields are available here as part of this object. Now what I want to do is, for example, I'm creating a new position record, like some Java developer position record. Java developer. Status is new state, new position. Location is for Hyderabad. Number of vacancies are 2. I am selecting the minimum pay. That is, what is the minimum salary we can offer for this position. I am indicating like some 15 lakhs. Maximum salary I am indicating like some 12 lakhs. Now, open date I am indicating over here today's date. Milestone date I am selecting like a 31st of this. HR email ID like some Ramesh@some gmail.com. Contact number I am selecting some value. I am indicating the position description like as required 4+ years of experience in Java development. Java development. The same description I'm providing over here. Skills required also. These are the various of fields are available. So now here in this case, observe this one. Here minimum salary I have entered like as 15 lakhs. Maximum salary I have entered like as 12 lakhs. Now tell me, is it a correct information? No. But even though it will accept the record, let's see. When you click on save button, record has been created successfully. It is accepting that wrong information also as it is. Minimum value, nothing but minimum pay is 15 lakhs, maximum pay 12 lakhs. Generally, the value should be in reverse format. Values should be in reverse format. But here I'm having the wrong information. Always maximum budget should be more than minimum pay. That means the minimum pay should be less, maximum budget should be more. Then how can we do this one here? Okay, how can we do this one? Now let's see. Whenever I'm creating the record, always I want to make sure minimum pay field should be having less than the value than maximum budget.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So it even applicable for the date, right? The open date and milestone date.
Yes, that also we can apply. We'll see that both the validations now. Okay, now I want to make sure minimum salary should be always less, maximum salary should be high always. Then how can we do that? But here minimum salary is high and the maximum salary is less. The reverse format here, I don't want this one. I want the correct information. This is the wrong information right now. So I want to prepare a validation tool. Now let's see. Create a validation rule on the position object to make sure the maximum budget value should be higher than the minimum pay. Create a validation rule on the position object to make sure the maximum budget value should be higher than the minimum pay. Minimum budget should be less, maximum budget should be high, always. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now let's see the validation condition. How can we implement this validation condition? Now let's see practically in this case. So now let's see in this case. Simply go to the position object, create the validation rule. Click on this positions tab, create a validation rule. Expand this to start on quick access menu. Click on view validation rules. We haven't created any validation rules as of now. I want to create a new one. So click on new link directly to create a new validation rule. What is my requirement here? Maximum budget should be always higher than minimum budget here. I'm indicating. Maximum pay should be higher than minimum pay. Okay, higher than minimum pay. I'm indicating this. So now minimum pay, maximum pay should be higher than minimum pay. Now. So now tell me when you want to show the error message generally. If the minimum pay value is less than maximum pay, I don't want to show any error message. If the minimum pay value is more than maximum pay, I want to show error message. So for that one, how can we do this one? Now let's see. So now select that field names. What is that field name here? Now click on insert field. Or else go to the position object here. Click on this positions tab. Go to the field over here. Click on view fields. What is that maximum pay field here? This is the field name. Okay, maximum budget. I want to show the error message when if the maximum pay, nothing but maximum budget field value is greater than, that means operators are there. Okay, if it is greater than, okay, greater than, sorry, if it is less than, maximum budget field value is less than minimum pay. How can we collect that minimum pay field? So now click on insert selected field, minimum pay. Okay, minimum pay field, insert. So if the maximum budget value is less than the minimum budget, then I want to show the error message. If you want to check the syntax, then click on check syntax. It will be indicating this one. So no errors has been found syntactical wise, everything is correct. I want to show the error message here. Now, always minimum pay should be less than maximum pay at the maximum budget. Always minimum pay should be less than maximum budget.
Can we put that value also here?
No, we can't specify the value because which value we are entering, then we have to enter the value dynamically, right? So we can't hard code this value.
Right. Okay.
Now, so I want to indicate this error message at that minimum pay field. So select that field called as minimum pay. Now click on save button. From now onwards, maximum pay should be always higher. Let's see. Go to your record here, Java developer record. Click on this edit button. Minimum pay I have entered 15 lakhs, maximum pay I am entering like as some 14 lakhs. So click on save button. It is displaying the error message to you. Always a minimum pay should be less than maximum pay. So here I'm indicating 15 lakhs. Now the maximum budget I'm indicating like as some 17 lakhs. Now tell me, will it be saving the record or not? Yes, because minimum pay is less, maximum pay is more. Now click on save. The record will be accepted as it is over here. So it is saving your record. This is how we are going to be creating these validation rules inside your Salesforce instance. Now, validation condition. Let me place this one. Like the similar way. Okay, like the similar way, I would like to give few more examples over here, like some examples. First one. Create a validation rule. Create a validation rule on the lead object to make the title field as required. To make the title field as required. I want to make this a title of that lead is mandatory. Next one. Create a validation rule on the contact object to make the email field is required. I want to make the email field is mandatory in our contact card. Next one. Create a validation rule. Create a validation rule to make the amount value is always more than 20,000 for each opportunity record. That means upon creating a new opportunity record or upon updating the opportunity, so the amount value should be always more than 20,000. Next one. Create a validation rule. Create a validation rule on the account object to make sure the annual revenue should be more than 40,000 or 4 lakh. Okay, the annual revenue value should be more than 4 lakh. These are 4 assignments. So do these assignments today. Tomorrow we'll see some more examples also. Tomorrow also we are having the session at same time. Okay, 6 to 8, 6 to 7 that year we'll take up that session. So that we can complete the validation rules by tomorrow.
Firoz,
Yes.
is it possible to apply validation rule on the related object?
No. That will be on the same object only we can apply, not on the related object. If you want to do that, then we have to go with the triggers.
Okay.
Sir, can we create validation rules on one field?
Sorry?
Can we create 2 validation rules on one field?
Yes, on a single field you can create n number of validation rules also, no problem.
And sir, what is the difference between isBlank and isNull?
Sorry?
Difference between isNull and isBlank.
That's what we have discussed, right? IsBlank function can be used to verify whether a field is blank or not. This can be applicable for both numerical fields, text fields. And isNull function will be applicable only for the numerical field, not on the text fields. That is the difference.
Sir, can you go to the position record? Can you scroll down? Yeah. Now, if somebody in edit mode changes the minimum pay, will the validation trigger?
Yes. Suppose they are changing that minimum pay, they're changing to some 19 lakhs. So now when you click on that save button, it will find that. It will be indicating that it should be always less than maximum budget.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, yesterday you thought about the auto number, data type auto number.
Yes.
So what is the difference between the ID and the auto number?
See, ID will be different. ID will be generating by Salesforce, which is a 18 characters ID will be generating by Salesforce. Auto number is for our internal reference, we are going to be creating a unique ID for each and every record based on our own formats. Okay. Based on our own formats, we are preparing our own sequence number. Like some product code will be like as P hyphen some value. Okay, customer codes will be C hyphen some value. Like that, we can generate our own auto number values for our record, for our internal reference. Because if I'm not using this kind of internal reference, if you want to use a record ID, now tell me, will you be able to remember the 18 characters record ID? No, that will be very lengthy. We can't remember that. For that reason, we are going to be using some sequence values. For that one, we can go with the auto number. Record IDs are not in sequence. Auto number values are in sequence format. Okay.
But in this position object, you have segregated it like position detail, compensation detail.
This conference will now be
We'll see
recorded.
that next.
No, sir.